Welcome to the Welsh Yogi Podcast. Hi everyone and welcome to the Welsh Yogi Podcast. My name is Bhakta Rupa. Unfortunately Gopal couldn't make it today, but he gave me a special instruction to make a recording of a podcast with anyone. And I actually grabbed anyone, and here he is.
Hare Krishna.
Hare Krishna. What's your name?
It's Daityari.
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 Do I detect an Irish... Is there an Irish accent there, Daityari?
Yes.
Yeah. Daityari-hari. He's the Irish monk from Krishna in Wales, in Cardiff. How long have you been a monk for, Daityari?
About 6 years, 7 years.
6 or 7 years. That's a decent stretch. You know, what's that? What would you have to spend 7 years in prison for? What kind of crime?
I guess like armed robbery.
Okay, you've done a good stint for armed robbery. I actually met someone on the street the other day that said that he would be interested in coming in on the podcast, and he spent a lot of time in prison for armed kidnap. But yeah, he was speaking on the street. He was made a lot of realizations from his prison time. He read a lot of spiritual texts, the Bible, Quran, Bhagavad-Gita, and he was speaking some sense. So
some time to reflect, I guess, isn't it? Was it when he was in prison? Was it?
Yeah, it was interesting what he was saying. Actually, I forget his name, but I've got his phone number.
You meet some like people who say some interesting things in the street, and they sound like, "Oh, that guy was really enlightened," and then you find out when you meet someone who knew that person, what their background is and what they've actually done and what they're still doing. You're like, whoa, who did I speak to?
Fair enough. We meet a lot of people though. You're a big time book distributor over those 7 years. You spent a good chunk of that out on the street meeting new people. Why do you want to do that? Like, what makes you want to distribute these spiritual books written by Prabhupada?
Well, I mean, like, for me, like, I definitely didn't deserve it myself, but I feel like from reading Prabhupada's books, I got a lot from them. Didn't deserve the opportunity to take up this lifestyle, to come in contact with what I came in contact with, kind of thing, you know. But I got the opportunity to do it, so I just thought, well, it's uplift. I feel that it's really uplifted me personally, so I just think, well, why shouldn't anyone else get the opportunity to have the same
upliftment?
Yeah.
So it's kind of like that. Share what you've gotten.
Yeah, it is. Yeah.
And it does feel good to be like almost like a conduit for that positive energy. Do you know what I mean? Because if you think about it, a lot of us day to day are conduits for one thing or another. So say we have a job and our boss tells us to do something. Yeah. We become like a extension of his will or desire.
Yeah, you see it everywhere, isn't it? Like, and even not just your boss, but just like anything, isn't it? Like the things that you hear the most of, kind of thing. You just like, you just reflect that, isn't it?
100%. I used to listen to Joe Rogan podcast every single episode that came out. Like, these are like 3 hour long podcasts, and over the course of like 4 or 5 years, I became Joe Rogan, but in Port Talbot. Like I was, because he's really into like his hunting and his jiu-jitsu and his marijuana and his psychedelics, and I was really into all of these things just from hearing so like regularly from him. So like whatever vibrations we're putting in our ears regularly on a regular basis, I guess we become empowered representatives of that thing, you know.
Yeah, scary as well, isn't it? Like when you think about it, isn't it? Like how much what we take in, isn't it?
Yeah, exactly. But it's cool as well that we can.
You'd been but then it gets you to be selective, isn't it? Like about what you do take in, isn't it? Like just to be like conscious of it, isn't it? Instead of just like
anything
any indiscriminate thing, exactly. Because because we naturally just, for me anyway, speaking personally, like once I get interested in something, I get locked into it. And when you get locked into something that's positive, that's great kind of thing. But when you're getting locked into something that just drags you down, it just it's not good.
For sure. And you get caught up in the momentum of like previous decisions.
Yeah.
And that it just builds and builds. That's probably why these people that are actually okay people, they end up being like armed robbers, and they get stuck in with the wrong crowd and start acting like them, and before you know it, you're in prison for 7 years, or you're a monk for 7 years. But yeah, I was wondering, because like I've heard you tell me stories and stuff about what it was like before you were a monk. Just wind it all the way back. Like what was Daityari? Because Daityari, we know Daityari in the ashram. If you've come to Atma or you've met him on the street, he's a super clever, like he said locked on, but he's taken these ancient Sanskrit yoga texts and he's just like uploaded them into his brain, and like he's got like this way of just like overlaying these Sanskrit texts over reality and analysing life according to these texts, and he's got he's like a superpower. He's got a big old brain, like but I wonder what was the kid Daityari? Your name wasn't Daityari for starters, was it?
No, it was Michael
O'Connell. where was Michael O'Connell from?
The west of Ireland, County Clare, near Limerick.
Right.
People in Wales probably know Limerick.
I don't know anything about it.
But close to there.
So you grew up in County Clare. Yeah. Good boy in school?
No.
Not
really. I mean, I guess like for the first 5-6 years I was a good boy in school, but then when I realised that wasn't cool kind of thing to be a good boy in school, I started not being a good boy in school and gradually became like someone who was just pretty harsh to all my teachers kind of thing, harsh to people, and I just felt, because good boys don't really fit in with that kind of thing, especially in like the kind of
environment.
Yeah.
But it's also a sign of intelligence, isn't it, sometimes to be like naughty. I know in India, if your kid's naughty, they like it.
Yeah.
Krishna's a naughty boy as well. Krishna used to go around nicking butter off people and pretending, pleading innocence. But so you're a bit of a naughty boy. Did you? Because you're a spiritual guy now. Was you spiritual back then?
I was actually I was pretty much a full-on atheist until the age of about 18, probably. I was like very much an atheist, like not just agnostic, but very much like
preaching atheism and
almost on that level. Yeah, just like just out of spite of like, because we were growing up in the tail end of what was once a religious country kind of thing. Ireland was once a very Catholic country, but that was starting to die kind of thing, and I guess we were still kind of like, there was still the remnants of that culture there, so I had my communion, my confirmation and stuff like that,
What age did you do those kinds of things?
Like 8 for communion and 12 for confirmation, but it was always like
a ritual, or like
it was a ritual, yeah, and we got dragged along to, you get dragged along to church on Sundays as well. My parents didn't believe in it, but it was just because it was like culturally ingrained in them to do it as well. You just do it as well. And we used to have like, I don't want to disrespect people. We had the there was one point before confirmation as well where the priests would. It was really weird, especially seeing as all the stuff had come out. All the
by that point,
all that stuff had come out, like about the scandals and things. But the priests would. Before your confirmation, the priest took you out of the room and just started speaking to you about your confirmation and if you had any sins to confess. And it was all a bit creepy and it was all a bit weird, and I just felt like nobody really understood why we were doing what we were doing, and it was just a very strange, very, very, I always saw religion or spirituality as a very strange thing, that like...
Yeah. You find a lot of people on the street we meet that say they're atheists.
Yeah.
It's like they've been scarred by like a creepy religious childhood, and it's like, obviously this can't be reality, so I just go with the antithesis. There's no such thing as God, because what I've seen of what people who say that they believe in God, it's not a good example, It's interesting. I remember you saying when you were a kid you was like walking with your mother or something, and he's like, Ma, what did you say? When was that? I just remember you saying something. Yeah,
something about God's not real, and just challenge her on that point kind of thing. But like looking back on it, like I didn't even really feel that way. In one sense, I didn't really feel that way. I was just trying to play, play the atheist kind of thing, to just see what what kind of level of depth did these people have in what they were talking about? You know, like, because there's nothing more disturbing than when you see people who are like locked in, like, you know, we're talking about that word locked in, isn't it? But when people are locked into something that they don't understand why they're doing what they're doing, but they're just doing it because they've been told to do it.
Not really challenging it.
And they're not really challenging it, and they're just kind of like almost in a brain dead way going along with it. And I just always felt like a bit of a, like, you know, that always made me feel uncomfortable kind of thing, and I'm sure we can all relate to that. I don't know.
Yeah. So like up to the age of 18 you said you was an atheist. What happened at 18 where it started switching?
I said there was a few things, like one of the things is just like, because I think with all of us, like, there is always like, I remember like there was one guy I've spoken to a few people as well who like said they were like hardcore atheists as well, but in their darkest times they'd always pray, you know, they'd always, just in case you are there, God, you know,
yeah.
Say,
hedge the bet. Like.
Yeah. So it was a bit like that kind of thing, and you know, I pray whenever I was really, really struggling in life kind of thing, and you know, I did resort to that. So I guess like sometimes people who are really heavy atheists pretend to be very heavy atheists. Actually, there's another side to them that's...
It's pretty interesting. Because I always make things about me, but like I never had this propensity to pray. Like I never had this idea. Like I always was atheist as well. I feel like a lot of our generation, because of like also like the influences from the education system, it's quite secular. Like, and almost on the air of like, no, there's obviously no God.
It's more dangerous actually, because it's like, you know, it's one thing to be like full on like antagonistic against religion, but or against spirituality or the idea of there being a God, but when you've actually come to the point of we're going to be nice to these people by not being too disrespectful, but obviously any intelligent, reasonable person knows that this isn't true. Yeah. And we're just going to explain the truth as it is. Yeah. You know, and you know, we're going to put it in its
like
place.
Just dismiss it.
Yeah, just dismiss it, but in a very polite way.
Yeah.
And then it's almost like it doesn't even have the credibility to even be discussed.
Yeah, that's true.
You know,
that's a good point.
And then it's like, but if you're antagonistic towards it, then at least it brings out the confrontation as to whether or not it is. You know, it is true. You know, so I don't know.
Yeah, it's an interesting point. Like, so you said that, so around the age of 18 you started making some little prayers, or
yeah, and you're just seeing how it seemed that like when I would make those prayers, I'd find myself in situations where it's just it was hard to explain in the beginning. In the beginning, it's hard to kind of explain, or but it felt like I'd make a prayer, and after making that prayer, something would happen in my life that would seem to reflect the fact that I had prayed for something, you know what I mean?
Yeah,
you know, like it felt like someone was answering me back, kind of thing, you know?
There's like a reciprocation.
Yeah, some kind of reciprocation. It felt like that,
and
you
it's
know?
a feeling more than a...
Yeah. So I didn't take it too seriously, but I was doing that, and then I saw these things happening, you know, and I was thinking maybe...
You have any examples, or was it a bit too...
I mean, like, I guess... making like in the early stages, not really, you know, like there was one the main example, I guess, was years down the line where I literally wrote a letter.
How old is this now?
This was when I was like 21 kind of thing. So I was living in Dublin at the time, and I was like I was living in this house share with these people I didn't know, kind of thing.
Paint a picture, like what's the house where you live in?
It was like in West Dublin, not a very nice part of Dublin, living with one Polish stoner guy who was like really like almost haunted. He was quite smart as well, like he'd talk about like consciousness and things like that. So I'd have like, sometimes we'd smoke weed and talk about consciousness together and stuff like that, you know, but he was really like he was quite dark as well, kind of thing. He was quite psychotic almost. Okay. So it was like
he's gone deep down that.
Yeah. It was really like it was very uneasy being in the same house as him, because he used to like scream and in the middle of the night sometimes and just like wake everyone else in the house up and just go out and have these like episodes. And it was just
that's heavy. Like,
and it was really
like being around people like that. It attracts a certain energy. Yeah. Like we discussed it before. Like this destructive, the mode of ignorance. Like, it's like this covering dark, like sucks the air out of the place. Yeah. Interesting. So there was this Polish guy.
Yeah, and then there was this other guy who had OCD. He was going visiting his girlfriend every every week in Belfast kind of thing, and he'd come back and unload all his emotional problems that he was having with his girlfriend and stuff like that. And I was just with all these people who I could see were all really, really disturbed. And I was thinking, well, because it was at a point in my life where I was trying to distance myself from the social group that I'd kind of grown up with for 10, 12 years kind of thing, the friends that I had always had, because all we were doing was the same things. You're getting drunk, taking drugs, just boasting about sex that we had, and just doing, and just talking about football, and and it just felt like a repetitive cycle. At one point I just got so disgusted with it, because I was someone who was really down that track. I've just been someone who was really heavy into drink and drugs and stuff, and I just felt like at one point I just felt like, whoa, I'm destroying myself. I want to get away from these people and live and just sort my head out for a year. But then living with these people, then
so you literally like pulled yourself out.
I pulled myself out of that environment and said, okay, I'm going to move to Dublin for a year, try and get a job.
You didn't live anywhere near Dublin before that?
Not nowhere near. I had some relatives in Dublin that I lived with for a little while.
How far is Dublin? Talk Welsh terms.
Like 3 hours. The distance between.
So it's like moving to Aberystwyth from Cardiff, or moving to Cardiff from Aberystwyth.
Yeah.
That's quite far. Then.
Yeah, that kind of distance. Yeah.
It's a good amount.
So yeah, just seeing the idea was at that point was, okay, well, I need to sort my life out. I need to kind of get a fresh start and kind of work my life out. I don't even know what I want to do, but I know that I don't want to do this,
Yeah.
So
that's mature.
That's kind of was. I dropped out of uni as well, because I thought, well, I felt like I was fed into the system a little bit. That
machine. Conveyor belt.
Yeah. Like that I want to take a gap year from university kind of thing, just work for a year to figure out what I wanted to do with my life. But then just seeing these people, how disturbed they were, the people I was living with kind of thing, I was thinking, it seems like very few people in the world are happy kind of thing, it seems like people are just quite miserable, and I was really struggling to pay the rent. It was just life was just really, really hard, and I just felt like the walls were closing in my life. So I just decided, well, I'm going to write a prayer to God very specifically kind of thing, because I'm just getting so fried out with this now kind of thing. And I just literally said,
Dear God.
Yeah, dear God. I don't care at this point, whether I get what I want or don't get what I want, because what I'm asking is what's the point in all this? What are we do? What am I doing? Can you make whatever's supposed to happen to move me closer to whatever I'm supposed to be doing in my life? Can you bring about some circumstance that will bring that to happen? Because I'm just getting sick. It was just at that point that I did that.
That is an exalted prayer.
I don't know, but it was just at that point, because I was just so stressed out. I was just so fried out.
Because most people, when they pray, they'll pray for some material thing.
Yeah, but I guess,
please God, help me have a better situation in life so that I'll be happy. Or please God, and you're like, look, I don't even care.
Yeah, I was just so fried.
Happiness or distress, don't care. Just tell me what's the point of this, and how do I get out?
Yeah, just at that point, I did that.
It's
and
deep.
Then at that point, my landlord came knocking on the door, kind of thing, and just said, because he was like,
that moment,
literally within a minute, kind of thing. Yeah, it was mad. And then he was like a sergeant in the police or something, and he came and he just said, okay, you guys, you're gonna have to all leave, because he had brought down some big drug dealer kind of thing, and that gang kind of wanted to kill him and his family for doing that kind of thing. So it was like, okay, we're gonna move here for now. I'm gonna move out of my own house. We're gonna move in here. You guys have to leave. I'm sorry, kind of thing. And it was kind of an illegal arrangement. There was no lease or tenant rights or anything like that kind of thing. So within a few days,
so
I had to leave.
You had no rights to say anything. Really.
Yeah. So just ended up being kicked out of there kind of thing, and then had to go back to the town I was from.
Limerick, you say?
No, Clare. It was near Limerick, but it's Ennis in County Clare. Yeah. And it was just. I just went a bit nuts. At that point I had just gone a bit nuts, so to even like
you moved back with your dad.
Yeah, my mum and my dad and my brother and sister kind of thing, and I was just like, at that point, like this whole new idea about just making a place for myself in the world and kind of creating my own path in life, away from this place and been dragged back into this environment again, kind of thing.
Yeah.
And then I went out, I went out one night again with my friends, kind of thing, because you have to hang out with someone, kind of thing. And I just felt so defeated and just so like, what's the point, again.
Was there like a moment where you were like drunk, looking at the stars and just thinking, feeling defeated on that night out?
I just left. Like I was out for a few hours and I just left them and just kind of went back home, kind of thing. And then
I'm just trying to picture it like a movie. I always like to picture it like a movie. Like there's drunken Michael O'Connell defeated with his glass of whiskey, looking at a puddle. Yeah. No, so you went home.
Yeah, I mean, at that point, like it's hard to even like, because I think like mental health is a very big issue with people of our generation, kind of thing. So at that point, like I was quite disturbed, to be honest. Like, so I was I literally did go a bit completely nuts, like off the walls a little bit, like a lot of my ideas about what was going on and who I was and where I was going, it was all a bit
psychotic breakdown.
A bit like that. And I just,
did your parents notice?
Yeah, they were recommending that I go see a psychiatrist and a psychologist and all these kind of things, but I wasn't really having any of it, kind of thing.
Again, very much there.
Yeah. So I literally just left again and just decided, okay, I'm going to go to the UK and just get as far away as possible, just to escape my problems, run away from them instead of deal with them, kind of thing. But there was still this kind of idea in my mind now at this point that there was, I still had this desire to try and somehow connect to the truth, like that, behind all that.
You remember that did you carry that?
Yeah, I remembered it. I remembered writing it and seeing the correlation between this event, and it clearly happened for some reason, kind of thing. But then I took up, like, because I didn't really want to go back to uni either, because I was studying like psychology in university, kind of thing, but I didn't really want to go back into that, kind of thing. I'd only done 1 year anyway, kind of thing. But I remember just taking out my textbook for psychology and just reading it, and just reading this point about, like, because I was always interested about like what consciousness was and what the purpose of it all was, kind of thing. And I was reading in this textbook anyway, okay, what is consciousness, kind of thing, and it was describing it as if it was like, in such a mechanistic way, and I was like, this is useless. Whatever consciousness is, it isn't this,
Really?
And I was just like,
what do you mean by mechanistic way?
It was like describing it as like, like ions going down dendrites and all this kind of stuff, I was like, oh my god, I don't have a clear understanding about what consciousness is, but I know it's not this, so I know I'm not getting anything from this, so I'm not going to go back and study this and waste my life doing this either. But I literally just kind of ran away, kind of thing, and with nothing pretty much, and went to the UK with the high possibility of just becoming like this homeless crazy guy, pretty much, so.
And here you are.
And here I am. Anyway, to cut a long story short, then I just.
What happened when you got to Wales? Oh, did you get to Wales? You said you
no,
got to
the UK. I didn't go. I obviously you got to. I went from Dublin to Holyhead, kind of thing. So I wasn't Wales for a little bit.
You didn't even plane it.
Huh?
You didn't even plane it. You boated it.
Yeah.
Boated it over.
And and I spent a few weeks in Manchester. I was literally like, again, it's not a very nice story. It's not one of these inspiring stories where you think, wow, what an amazing person. That's just, so, I was.
Were you on a quest though? Like, you're in the UK. Were you looking for something? Were you like, or were you just like, I'm running away, just gonna travel around the UK a bit? Or were you thinking like?
I was very mixed up, I'd say, like, one part of me was thinking, okay, like, all these unfortunate things are happening in my life, like, nothing seems to be working out, kind of thing. But then I had developed this kind of like faith that there must be some conscious being looking over me. I didn't want to call him God because of the connotations that come with the word God, based on like all the different kind of extreme representations that I had come across, and dogmatic representations that I had seen that so-called represented God, but I was just praying. I would continue kind of praying a little bit, to just whatever I'm supposed to be doing, whatever way I can kind of come closer to some semblance of sanity or truth in my life, kind of thing. Can you just show me something, you know.
I wonder what, because I always curious about this topic, because I never prayed myself.
Yeah.
What does it look like for someone to pray? Like, what were you like on your knees before you went to bed, like praying, or was it just like you're just having a conversation with God in your head?
It was like, it was an internal dialogue. Like, it wasn't me just talking. It wasn't me just trying to talk to my mind. It's like if there is this like sentient consciousness beyond me that's aware of what's going on and that's organising everything. Well, I'm sure you can hear me, and this is what I'm asking. What am I supposed to do now? You know, because everything I'm doing isn't working. You know, so if there is something I'm meant to be doing, can you please show me? You know, there was that kind of mood, you know, like. But anyways,
it's interesting because like you hear in the Srimad Bhagavatam, which is like an ancient yoga text. It's really big.
Yeah,
it's really amazing. It's got everything you could ever want to hear in there. But it says that like for one, it's one of Prabhupada's favorite verses, isn't it? For one who's actually favored by God, they get made materially destitute. And it seems like you're in this situation of pretty much destitution, like you're hopeless. And you just want to know how to, you know, like, okay, what have I got to do? Why am I here? Why am I? This suffering's too much, so let me out, isn't it? It seems like you had a bit of that going on, like this destitute, which is actually like a lot of people who are listening might be in a similar situation, perhaps, where they're feeling a little bit hopeless, a little bit, okay, what am I supposed to do now? Like, and it seems like, oh, God must hate me because I'm in this terrible position. Oh, God hates me, but actually, it's a real opportunity to be like, to actually call out in a real way. Because if you've got like a Ferrari and a Lamborghini and a lovely family and a beautiful dog and all of the things that you could ever want materially, you don't really, there's no reason for you to call out for a reason for the answer of life, you know?
Yeah.
And then eventually those things will just get taken away by time, and when our body dies, we lose all those things anyway.
Yeah, exactly.
So it's like, you don't actually have a chance to come closer in that relationship with that, with Krishna, basically. But like that destitute position is a chance. It's a positive thing. Yeah, it's a good.
Well, it is. Yeah,
but it could also go down. Like
exactly. Yeah. So it's like there's prayers in the Bhagavatam as well, isn't it? Like, you know, from Queen Kunti, you know, that she says that she let the suffering come because that makes me call out to you more, kind of thing. But obviously for us, like, that's not the kind of thing I was ever praying for. It was just happening, like, you know.
Yeah. Nice.
But it is true, like, when we're in a bad situation, it's a lot easier to have that humble state of mind that you've nothing to hide behind. So it's just a very raw
heart, open heart.
Yeah.
So you're in Manchester, you said? Or?
I was in Manchester for a bit, London for a bit.
Were you working or?
I was wandering around for a bit, but then I did get a job doing door-to-door sales in London.
Really?
Yeah, in London. Yeah, because I'd done those jobs in the past. I'd sold like electricity back when I was in art. You know.
Nice.
But I got a job. It was for like St. John's Ambulance or something like that, and they were
like a charity fundraiser.
Yeah, charity fundraiser thing. And they were locating people to different parts of the country, and it was like Group 1 go to Cambridge, Group 2 go to Manchester, Group 3 go to Merthyr Tydfil.
Merthyr Tydfil.
Yeah, it's like in the same category as like Cambridge and Manchester kind of thing. But I was in Group 3 anyway. I went to Merthyr Tydfil. And a few weeks before that, I had because this is I guess is the most interesting part of, like, for me personally, that kind of made Krishna Consciousness seem like the truth. You know, this is like, because I haven't really spoken about Krishna Consciousness at all up until this point. It was just very vague understanding of God. But like,
and by Krishna Consciousness, you mean like the Hare Krishna movement and
just this idea that what's in these books is just connected to such a deeper truth about what reality is.
Like Bhagavad-Gita, Sri Japan, like okay.
All these books, you know. So like a few years before that, I had when I was still in university, actually, I had met a guy giving out books in the street, kind of thing. And this is another thing.
Like a monk.
Yeah, it was like a monk giving out books in Cork, when I was in uni in Cork, university in Ireland. Yeah. And he seemed like a little bit nervous, kind of thing, when he was giving them out. He wasn't the best at his, but he was trying his best, kind of thing, But like, it was just that day as well that I'd never thought about meditating in my life, but it was just that day that thought popped into my head that maybe I should meditate, kind of thing. And this guy came out and said, "Here's a book on meditation." So I took the book, kind of thing. At the time, I read it, but I didn't really like some of the stuff that was in there at the time because I wasn't ready for it, kind of thing, I guess. But so I actually got rid of the book, I didn't keep it, kind of thing. But a few years later, kind of thing, when I was in Manchester, I met this guy giving out the same books again, kind of thing. When I was in a very
different guy, yeah.
A guy giving out books again in Manchester, kind of thing. And I saw the same books on display, kind of thing, and I just made this instant link,
Do you have a book table?
He had he was weird. I'd never seen anyone else since do this kind of thing, but it had this cloth spread out on the ground.
Oh yeah.
And there was all these books nicely laid out in the cloth, kind of thing, and he was just sitting down and kind of like this, this meditation posture. Yeah, just in Market Street. It looked quite good, actually.
I've seen people playing Mridanga sat like that.
Yeah,
just
he had
singing
one.
Hare Krishna.
Yeah, it was kind of like that kind of thing. But he, anyway, I just noticed that he was giving out these books as well that I had seen years before, and I just thought.
Was he in the monk clothes?
Yeah, he was full on dressed up like a monk, kind of thing. But yeah, I went up and I spoke to him, kind of thing. I had a bit of an intense conversation with him, kind of thing, because I was in a very intense, manic kind of psychotic mood at that point. Yeah. But he came across really well at the time, kind of thing, and he
answered your questions.
He answered all my questions very well, and I took quite a few books from him, kind of thing. And it was.
Did you give a donation?
I did, actually.
How much did you give?
Like £3, because that's all I had.
£3, and he gave you loads of books.
Yeah, because I was pretty much on the verge of homeless, kind of. So I gave him pretty much everything I had, at the time. Yeah, cool. But yeah, having read the books then, kind of thing, a lot of it really resonated with me, and a lot of it just made a lot of sense, because I was in that receptive mood of being able to take it in, because as you were saying yourself, isn't it, like when we are in that kind of humble state, kind of thing, it's a lot easier to be receptive to spiritual knowledge. But when you're in a more materially extravagant position, it's a lot more difficult, kind of thing, isn't it? But
that's why it's worth holding on to the books, even if you get a book on the street.
Exactly, yeah.
And you're just like, what the hell is this? Like, this doesn't make any sense. If you chuck it on your shelf, it's 10 years down the line, you might pick it up and it'll just sing to you.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah.
So these books are, it's a reciprocation, isn't it? Whatever's going on in you is your relationship with that book. Any book, actually. But yeah, so you had the books.
I read the Veda book on the book called the Veda, which we give out, kind of thing, and stuff about reincarnation in there that made a lot of sense, and just the book just spoke to me, and I remember hearing about the Bhagavad-Gita in there, kind of thing, thinking, okay, the next opportunity I get, I'm going to read the Bhagavad-Gita, kind of thing. But I'm kind of mixing up different parts of the story here, because it was only a few months later, it was a few weeks later, it was maybe a month, 2 months later, kind of thing, that I got this job that I'd be working in Merthyr Tydfil.
Okay. So monk in Manchester.
Then was in London. I was
got a job.
Yeah, got a job in London.
You're going to Merthyr.
Yeah.
That's a nice place to go.
Yeah. But
they probably sensed your position and thought you'd be a good fit for Merthyr, isn't it?
Yeah.
No offense to the Merthians out there.
But it was just I ended up just they had everyone had like together in a house, kind of thing, so you'd have other people that you were working with, and it was all these like Scottish people and the rough people from the north of England, rough and ready type people that were all in the same job, and all real kind of boozer it was quite a rough crowd of people that they were recruiting, kind of thing, for this thing, but
you were living in a house with it.
Yeah, I was living in a house with these people,
Bizarre.
It was bizarre, yeah, and I'd already read the books, and was quite convinced by a lot of the things that I'd read in the books about the world I was living in, kind of thing, and just seeing it before your eyes, seeing these people, seeing how these people were kind of like interacting, it just reminded me of my old life, kind of thing, again, and I was like, okay, well, whoa, I don't want to get entangled in this again. And then I remember the Bhagavad-Gita. And I just said, okay, well, I'm just gonna leave this job again, kind of thing, just float off somewhere else, kind of thing. But I ended up.
How long are you working in Merthyr for?
About 3 days.
3 days. At least you got a free journey to.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah. So I ended up. The idea was to go back to London, because my cousin's living in London, kind of thing. But on the way back, obviously, I was going to stop in Cardiff for the evening, kind of thing, because it was quite late, and just.
You had some money to stay in hostels or something, or where were you sleep? Did you sleep on the streets at all?
I did a few times, yeah.
Really?
Not in a permanent kind of way, but like there was times where I did sleep rough, yeah. So it was.
How does that work?
How does that work?
Like, what did you do? Like, how did you?
Just like sleep under a tree or something, or
Okay,
just
go
like.
to a park, like.
Yeah, I usually go to a park.
Okay, so you weren't outside like a church on the steps or something like that.
Maybe once or twice.
Really?
Yeah.
Okay, so you were a bit of a homeless boy, like.
Yeah, not like full time kind of homeless, but just in and out,
Part-time.
kind of like on the verge of. Yeah, I was homeless pretty much, but not like but like a rough sleeper, not like a full time rough sleeper. And I was only in that situation for like a month, 2 months kind of thing, you know. But I came straight. But the day that I quit the job in Merthyr kind of thing, because I had been homeless before getting the job in Merthyr as well kind of thing. But I had
This is the day before you quit.
This is the day that I quit. Sorry, the day that I quit kind of thing. I went to Cardiff and got the Bhagavad-Gita. Went straight to the library and just said, "Okay, I'm going to get the Bhagavad-Gita. I'm going to read the Bhagavad-Gita kind of thing. I want to read this book."
You just fixed on it. You say you get very fixed on it.
Yeah, I want to read this book, the Bhagavad-Gita, you know. And I took the Bhagavad-Gita to the library.
It was Prabhupada's Bhagavad-Gita.
It was Bhagavad-Gita as it is, you know. And I got it from the Cardiff Central Library. And I remember I was praying again, you know, this common theme about praying. I was just praying, okay, well, I'm really struggling, I'm really I feel like I was really like in a bad place kind of thing. It doesn't look like there's anywhere positive in the world. Yeah, there's not a ray of hope kind of thing, exactly, yeah. And while I was reading it kind of thing, it didn't really make so much sense philosophically to me, but I was just really praying and just reading it, and just, I felt like shelter when I was reading it. Like I felt like again, I know a lot of like agnostics and atheists roll their eyes up to heaven when you talk about feelings and experiences when you know. But I was reading it and I felt, you know, I did feel like there was some shelter there when I was reading the Bhagavad Gita, you know.
This is a quote from Gandhi. "When doubts haunt me and disappointment stares me in the face and I see not a ray of hope on the horizon, I turn to the Bhagavad Gita and find a verse to comfort me, and I immediately begin to smile in the midst of overwhelming sorrow. Those who meditate on the Gita will derive fresh joy and new meaning from it every day." Bit like that.
Yeah, a bit like that.
Sorry, you just reminded me of the quote.
No, it's good.
But, so, he was reading, it wasn't making sense.
It wasn't making fun because I was like, I was just reading the first chapter and it was talking about.
Did you read the intro?
I didn't actually the first time I read it.
Okay.
I
just went straight for the verses?
Yeah. I was.
And purports?
And purports, yeah.
Okay, cool.
You were just a verses person the first time you read it?
Yeah, I read the intro and I just read the bold.
Okay.
And I didn't want to read the purport because that was where the brainwashing was. So I was like, these Hare Krishna, this is a cult, but I'm just going to read the Bhagavad Gita.
Yeah.
Little did I know.
So yeah, I was reading it, like, you know, I was reading it, but
where were you reading it?
I was reading it in the library first of all, so I just kept reading it until the library closed, and then the library closed, so I wasn't even like thinking about where I was going to stay that night. I was just like so I just sat down on a bench, and I think Wales were playing Fiji. It was at the time of the 2015 World Cup, so Wales were playing Fiji, and it was like maybe about 7:30 in the evening.
When's World Cup? Summertime.
Autumn.
Autumn,
yeah. And so Wales were playing Fiji. The game was over, kind of thing. It was dark, and everyone was drunk, kind of thing, out in the streets. And I was just there sitting reading the Bhagavad Gita on a bench. And
it's random, like.
And one monk actually came up to me, Rahini. He came up and he saw me reading the Bhagavad Gita, and he just said, "What are you reading?" kind of thing. He was just like very surprised to see this guy sitting on a bench reading the Bhagavad Gita during a rugby, you know, after a rugby game when everyone's getting pissed on the streets, kind of thing.
It's a bit random, like.
It is random, yeah. And
Where was this?
It was on the Hayes in Cardiff.
I mean, he was walking past with his trolley, or
with a bucket. He was out doing a collection.
He was charity.
Yeah, charity collecting. Yeah.
You got picked up by a bucket boy.
Yeah.
Oh.
Yeah.
Interesting. So you met a monk. Wait. That is actually bizarre if you think about it.
It is, yeah.
So you're reading the Gita in Cardiff. So what happened then? Rahini's like...
He was just like, what are you... You know, he was just asking, what are you reading, you know? And I just showed him the Bhagavad Gita, and then we just got talking, kind of thing. And again, like...
Did you know he was a monk straight away, or?
I didn't straight away. He told me after a few minutes, kind of thing, that he was a monk. You know, we were talking a little bit about it, kind of thing, and he said we've got a centre here, and he was... Yeah, we were just chatting for maybe about 10-15 minutes, and then And then I just kind of thought, when he revealed, he said that he was a monk, that he was a Hare Krishna monk kind of thing, and I was like, okay, yeah. I started putting two and two together. That like, okay, this is another sign that this is supposed to be
a pretty big sign. What the hell?
Yeah.
And you left your job that day.
Yeah.
Went to Cardiff, read Bhagavad-Gita until you got kicked out of the library. Sat on a bench, carnage. Monk walks past.
Yeah.
It's pretty good. It's pretty quick.
Yeah. And then just. It was Mantri as well. Mantri and Diala were there as well, kind of thing. So they were doing the same. They were out that night as well, kind of thing. Because I think they were like collecting for Food for Life charity work. And I was speaking to them. I remember feeling very comfortable actually around Mantri. Mantri really put me at ease with everything, kind of thing. And from that day, then I just said, okay, well, this seems like a sign. You know, I've been praying, and it seems like there's been some reciprocation here. I don't know whether I'm going to dogmatically just believe in Krishna consciousness and just swallow a doctrine, but it does seem like there's a direct like relationship between me reading these books and major events happening in my life, and this is such a big sign that I'm going to take this and see where it goes, kind of thing. And I did. And
so what happened? Did you sleep on the street that night?
I did that night. Just that was the last night I slept in the street. I slept
on that bench.
Not on that bench. No, I slept. I think it's only a detail, but like outside the Queen's Arcade, basically that night. Yeah.
Really?
Yeah.
On what, cardboard or?
Just on the hard ground.
What a legend! Yeah. You can still do that now as well. Isn't it?
Yeah.
This guy's got austerity.
Yeah. Yeah.
So then, where did you sleep the next night?
The next night there was like people who were like, because the next morning I just went to like one of the morning programs kind of thing.
Mangalati or?
No, just Guru Puja.
So from 7 o'clock, like?
From 7 o'clock, yeah. And there was this guy from Soho Street. He was the former like temple president for like the Soho Street Temple in London kind of thing. He just happened to be there that day giving class kind of thing, and he just looked at me and goes, "This boy is ready for the ashram." I'm like, okay, what? What? It was weird, yeah, but
that's a big.
Because Tarkanat didn't think that. The temple president for here just thought, well, we don't know who this guy is. You know, he's just kind of walked in. We don't really know him, kind of thing. You know, we'll see what he's like, and we'll kind of gauge whether he's crazy or not, kind of thing. You know, because there are a lot of nutcases out there.
He was probably smelly as well, weren't you?
Not too bad. I was managing to have showers and stuff, you know.
Okay.
Like I was going to like leisure
centres
and stuff. Yeah.
Fascinating. I've learned so much.
Yeah. But anyway, for me, it was just like just being for anyone else out there, kind of thing, you know, who because everyone has their story to tell as well, isn't it? Like, you know, we all have different things that we went through and different things that we felt like were signaling that we should take particular steps in a direction, you know. But just I definitely recommend, you know, praying sincerely for the right things, and just giving things a natural and fair go, because it says in the beginning of the Gita as well, isn't it, that like we should theoretically accept what it's saying is true. In the beginning we may have so many doubts, you know, and it's fair enough to have doubts, you know, but to theoretically accept that it might be true. And when we see the people who've been practicing, you know, Krishna consciousness properly for a long time, and we get to be around them, and we see the examples that they set, and the kind of what it feels like to be around people like that, and how uplifting it is, then it just starts to become like more than just like a philosophy in a book, you know. It becomes a real thing, you know. And that was kind of my experience, and that's why I stuck around pretty much.
Yeah, very cool. So after that, how long was it before you actually became a monk?
It wasn't that long, actually, because we were doing the book marathon like a few months later, and I just went out in the book marathon, whole book marathon, like
distributing books for a whole month, straight travelling around.
Yeah, travelling.
Did you go travelling? Yeah.
Yeah, I went travelling. I went down to like Exeter, went up to Manchester again.
Wow.
And and after that, then they just said, yeah, you should move into the ashram.
So where were you staying for the time up to that?
I got a place on in Cathays. Rohini actually kind of helped me with it. Like, he was like his old landlord kind of thing. He had a place that he had stayed when he was like a student. I stayed there for a bit, kind of thing. I still had a little bit of money, so I was able to just about get by with rent. I worked in a Chutatmas vegan restaurant for Analoka for a few hours.
For a few hours,
yeah. Yeah.
Nice. Awesome.
Yeah.
No, that was a cool story. Some magic. You're a special soul, definitely, to have all those arrangements. And thanks for coming on to the podcast. Anyway, thanks for listening, everyone. Hare Krishna.
Hare Krishna.
Madhya Krishna Chaitanya Prabhu Nityananda Shri Advaita Gadadhar Shivasadi Gaur Bhaktavinda Madhya Krishna Chaitanya Prabhu Nityananda Shri Advaita Gadadhar Shivasadi Gaur Bhaktavinda